Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here from the Back to 12 podcast to recap an exciting weekend in Texas Tech athletics and really talk about the quarterback situation because it's been the talk of social media and my mentions over on Twitter. So I wanted to address my opinion when it came down to the quarterback position and what I thought of Donovan Smith. But before we get into football, let's recap Texas Tech athletics and the weekend they had. And before we even do that, be sure to hit that big red button and subscribe. We're giving you daily videos here talking about Texas Tech athletics, not only just football. We're going to talk about volleyball, soccer, and we're going to talk about cross country on today's video. And we talk about everything in between on this channel. So be sure to hit that big red button to stay in the know on Texas Tech athletics. All right, starting off, we will head to Indiana, where the cross-country team was up there, and the women's team did okay at the 5,000 meters when it came to cross-country. They finished in 9th, while the men in the gold 5-mile run came in 4th. So Texas Tech had a pretty solid showing at the Joe Panini Notre Dame Invitational. Of course, that is in Notre Dame, Indiana. So good stuff by them. Slow process. It's hard to cover cross-country because you don't get to see it as much, but that doesn't mean that they don't need the recognition. These guys and girls work hard. We need to give them some recognition, that's for sure. Speaking of giving them recognition, Texas Tech soccer goes on the road in Norman and beats Oklahoma 2-1, a big-time win for Coach Stone's crew as they get their first win in Big 12 play, moving to 1-1-2 in Big 12 play and 5-3-5 on the year. Coming into the game, Texas Tech obviously hadn't won a game in the Big 12, and Oklahoma was kind of on a roll when you looked at it. They were 7-2-2 and 2-0 in Big 12 play, but the Texas Tech Red Raiders take home a W in soccer to the 806, and they'll have a couple of matchups this week, will the soccer team, as they welcome in Iowa State to the 806 in this one. And then they're not done there, as they also play on Sunday when they head up to Lawrence to face off against the Jayhawks. But moving on, we've also got volleyball. Volleyball had a very cool moment for this program. And again, I feel like I almost have seen this program blossom, obviously, from afar now. But getting to cover it when Coach Tony Greystone really first started at Texas Tech and seeing a program that was coming from the depths of the Big 12. I mean, they were at rock bottom almost in a way with Texas Tech volleyball. And to see what Coach Tony Greystone and crew and some of the coaches that have come in and now obviously left, but the coaching staff that they have now and these great players, whether they've graduated already or are still currently on the roster, what they have done for Texas Tech volleyball has been simply amazing. If you would have told me during my time that Texas Tech volleyball would be playing on ESPN, the main station, at 2 p.m. in the afternoon on a Sunday, I would have probably laughed at you if you told me that 5 years ago. But that's what happened. And now, unfortunately, it didn't go the Red Raiders' way, as they did welcome in the #1 Texas Longhorns team to the 806 and the USA. A lot of fans there. Was probably the biggest turnout I've seen for a volleyball game in the Greystone era. It was absolutely awesome to see. Now, unfortunately, the Red Raiders did get swept 3-0, and this one showed a lot of fight in that third set. And in the first and second set, Texas pulled away a little bit, but Texas Tech really came back with a little bit of a surge, and then in the end, the Longhorns pulled away in both of those sets. What I'm trying to get at, though, is if you're in the 806 for a football game this year, or you just live in the 806, you need to go support this team. This team is absolutely amazing. The job that Coach Tony Greystone has done, and they made the tournament last year. They're going to make it again this year. This was a matchup, the #1 Texas Longhorns against Texas Tech on Sunday, between the first and second place teams in the Big 12. This is a great program. Go support them at the USA. Follow them on social media, everything, because they deserve it. They are one of the best teams on campus, and you should go help them in terms of just the support. And hey, in terms of support, be sure to hit that like button. If you like the content we're putting out here, we would really appreciate it. Not only giving you a weekly podcast, but I'm also giving you daily videos here on the channel, so a like goes a long way. So be sure to hit that like button right there. All right, y'all saw the thumbnail. I know why y'all are here. Y'all want to talk about Texas Tech football, and y'all want to talk about Donovan Smith. And I want to preface everything I'm about to say by saying this. I do not know who is going to be the starting quarterback when Tyler Shough gets healthy. I don't think anybody does because we don't know how Tyler Shough is going to respond being healthy or what Donovan Smith looks like. We do know this. Joey McGuire has said Tyler Shough should be healthy enough to go after the bye week. Now, Oklahoma State is on the schedule this week for the Red Raiders, the number 7 Oklahoma State Cowboys, and the Red Raiders will travel to Stillwater and play them on Saturday afternoon. Now, that could possibly be the last game Donovan Smith starts for the Red Raiders this season. Maybe. I'll say this, and I've been a part of it, so I don't want to just push the blame onto others or anything like that. I have been critical of Donovan Smith this year. Some of that criticism is warranted. Some of it is probably just having unrealistic expectations for where he is at in his career, okay? And again, I want to say I was one of those people. Now, obviously, it was never personal. It was just strictly on the field. But let's take a peek behind the curtain in terms of the experience Donovan Smith has, okay? Donovan Smith only started 1 year of high school at the quarterback position, and that was at Friendship, right outside of Lubbock, right? At Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas, he was a wide receiver and backup quarterback. He played a little bit, but he never really started. He only started 1 full year of high school. And now, in high school, it varies from state to state. I'll say that he played 12 games, maybe even go the high side. Let's say 13 games. He has started 13 games, maybe give a little wiggle room for maybe starting a game at Bishop Gorman, even though I don't think he did. Let's say 14, okay? He has started 8 games at Texas Tech. 8. This will be his 9th start for Texas Tech this weekend against Oklahoma State, the number 7 team in the country, right? When you look at what Donovan Smith has done in 22 starts, including high school and college, I think you have to realize, like, hey, this is pretty damn good in terms of what he's doing. I put this out on my Twitter in terms of a thread. Y'all should go check it out. Again, follow me at RCMB323. When I was looking at the stats for Donovan Smith, here are some of the things that stood out. He has 8 career starts in college. 6 of them, now it'll be 9 starts this weekend when he starts against Oklahoma State. But 6 of his 8 starts currently in college against top 25 teams. He has an overall record of 4-4, okay? You look at kind of what he's done against these teams. Now, obviously, young quarterbacks are going to be better at home than they are away. That's just most of the time for even experienced quarterbacks, right? But you look at Donovan Smith in terms of what he's done. He beat Iowa State at home. He beat Houston at home. He's beat Texas at home. He's got 2 wins at home against ranked teams. That's pretty good. Now, obviously, on the road, every team that he has played, Baylor, NC State, and Kansas State, in terms of the games that he has started, has been ranked in the top 25. Oh, and by the way, the neutral site game he won was against Mississippi State, where they shellacked Mike Leach and the Bulldogs in the Liberty Bowl, right? All I'm saying is this. Donovan Smith is by no means perfect right now, but I think people have to realize this man is going into his 9th career start as a collegiate quarterback. The flashes he has shown, typically freshmen don't show that, or guys with the experience level on the field don't show that, right? They just don't. And I'm not trying to give Donovan Smith a cop-out or anything like that. He frustrates me too. And I think he frustrates himself and Zach Kitley in terms of some of the decision he makes, right? But that's a growing process. What I'm preaching here is patience. I will say this, and I've said this a couple of times in previous videos. I thoroughly believe Donovan Smith gives you the highest possible ceiling at the quarterback position out of any of the 3 quarterbacks you have on the roster. Baron Morton, Tyler Shough, Donovan Smith. I mean, it doesn't matter. I think Donovan Smith gives you the highest ceiling. I do also think you could argue that Donovan Smith gives you the lowest floor because of his decision-making and some of the aspects in terms of throwing into tight windows, staying in the pocket too long, not throwing the ball away, etc., right? But if we're looking at this from a realistic standpoint in terms of what this man has done at the collegiate level with his limited experience, not only in college, but also at the collegiate level. Oh, by the way, he had to redshirt because he has a shoulder injury, right? His freshman year at Texas Tech. He has been pretty damn good. 18 total touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 8 interceptions is a lot. I get it. But this man has legitimately come back and won you football games with his performance, right? He was outstanding against Mississippi State. He was outstanding against the Longhorns. He was outstanding against Iowa State. And, well, he was outstanding for about a half and 2 minutes against Houston, right? And he was actually pretty damn good against Baylor as well on the road last year where they lost. I mean, look at this stat line against Baylor last year. The number 18 in the country last year was 15 for 23. Oh, by the way, Baylor won the Big 12 last year if you didn't know. But he was 15 of 23, 258 total yards, 2 TDs with a QBR of 76.8. All right, that's not blow me away type numbers, but you were in that game. That was a 27-24 game, right? He has done phenomenal a majority of the time, but when those lows hit, man, they look bad. And I think the perfect example is Oklahoma State last year. He had 68 total yards of offense, right? You could argue as well the NC State game. But I think when you look at everything he's put together so far in 8 games, Donovan Smith deserves to be talked about as the starting quarterback moving forward for the Red Raiders because of the ceiling he brings, and I think his floor will only elevate with experience. I think Donovan Smith is absolutely electric, but you have to stay patient and trust the process. And I'll say this, I don't think I would be as patient if there wasn't an offensive coordinator like Zach Kittley in place for Donovan Smith to develop. Zach Kittley has proven he can develop quarterbacks, whether that's Patrick Mahomes, who obviously we know about him, Bailey Zappi, who almost won in Lambeau Field against Aaron Rodgers yesterday, right? Donovan Smith will get there. Potentially, right? Like, will he ever live up to his full potential? I don't know. Not a lot of people do, right? Especially in the sports world. But he has the potential to get there, and all the tools are put in place for him to succeed. All you have to do is stay patient. And I think that this test that he's going through right now, which is going to end up being 5 consecutive starts against 5 top 25 teams, will only help him through his career, especially the back half of this season for the Red Raiders, where you know, they get to face West Virginia at home. They get to face other teams at home that are, quote-unquote, maybe a little less tough, even though the Big 12 seems to be wide open. My full trust is in Donovan Smith, but that doesn't mean I don't get frustrated with the process. But in the end, this is what I have to say. Stay patient. The talent is there. The coaching staff is there. The results will come. But you have to remember, this guy has less than 25 career starts from high school and college combined. He is a unicorn in a sense in terms of what he does on the football field, but damn it, it can be frustrating, but those highs are incredibly high. If he could just raise that floor a little bit, you're looking at a guy that could potentially be one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. But let me know in the comments, do you agree or disagree with me? Are you just kind of fed up with this at this point? Like, hey, throw Benton, Bear, and Morton at this point. Let's see what we have in him. Or are you sticking on the, hey, let's see what we have in Donovan Smith? Or maybe you're just like, hey, they're not going to start anyway when Tyler Shuck comes back. Who cares? Let me know in the comments. And again, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that big red button to stay in the know on Texas Tech Athletics all year long right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.